You are now listening to Uncovered with Kyle Fields, a One Love Media production. This episode of Uncovered contains graphic discussions of sexual assault, law enforcement, misconduct, and legal injustice. Listener discretion is strongly advised, especially for survivors. We won't sensationalize the pain. We won't air trauma just for shock value. But we will speak the truth. Because covering it up, that's how this system has stayed broken for so long. If you need a moment, take it. If this isn't your episode, that's okay. But if you can stay with us, we're about to unearth what really happens when reporting rapes becomes risky.
There's a question survivors of sexual assault hear more than almost any other. And it doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people they're told will protect them. Are you sure you didn't do something to make him think you were interested? It's the modern version of what were you wearing? It's the weaponization of doubt, and it's happening in police departments all across America. We're not talking about the rare rogue cop here. We're talking about a culture where survivors aren't believed, they're interrogated, where questions are crafted not to investigate, but to invalidate. And when that culture festers, when officers get too comfortable asking questions like those, what comes next should shock you. Or at least it should. Like in New Orleans, where a 15-year-old girl reported her rape. She did everything right. She asked for help. She agreed to go through a rape kit exam. And the officer assigned to protect her, he assaulted her too. Took her from one trauma and added his own fingerprint to it. Let that sit with you for just a second. She trusted the system, and the system exploited that trust twice. And she's not alone, not even close. In state after state, there are officers accused and sometimes even convicted of using their badge not to protect and serve, but to stalk, harass, manipulate, and rape the very people they're supposed to shield. And when the victims do come forward, their stories are discredited, their lives dissected, their trauma turned into a courtroom theater. It's no wonder so many never report in the first place. The message has been received loud and clear. If you speak up, you better be ready to defend yourself harder than your rapist ever had to. Let's talk about the rape kit. Sounds sterile, medical, maybe even helpful. But here's the truth. For a survivor, it's not a procedure. It's an interrogation with gloves on. It's being touched, scraped, swabbed, photographed everywhere. It's being asked to relive what happened inch by inch, bruise by bruise. You're naked, you're crying, and you're expected to be grateful for the opportunity to provide evidence. Because that's what this moment becomes. You stop being a person and you start being a crime scene. This kit can take up to 4 hours. 4 hours of strangers with instruments saying, "We just need one more swab." Like your body is a murder weapon that might still be worn. And then there's a chance it gets shelved, untested, unprocessed, and forgotten. Tens of thousands of rape kits in this country are collecting dust in evidence lockers. Some of them are never tested. Some are intentionally ignored. And we still And still, we ask survivors, why didn't you come forward sooner? Because sometimes telling the truth hurts more than keeping the secret. And sometimes the help feels like a punishment in a lab coat. Here's a reality check. If you're sexually assaulted in America and you report it, you have to submit to a forensic exam that's more invasive than what your attacker will ever face. He gets a lawyer. You get a vaginal swab and a trauma you now have to prove was real enough to matter. Imagine this. You're a survivor, courageously stepping into the courtroom, seeking justice. But instead of focusing on the accused, the spotlight turns harshly onto you. Defense attorneys, aiming to dismantle your credibility, delve into your personal life, asking questions like, well, what were you wearing that night? How many sexual partners have you had? Did you flirt with him? Were you under the influence? These aren't questions about seeking truth. They're tactical character assassinations. They're designed to put you on trial for your own rape. And it gets worse. In this twisted system, the very person who assaulted you, if they waive their right to an attorney, can legally represent themselves. That means your attacker can question you on the stand, face to face, eye to eye. It's not a psychological thriller. It's real life. And it's happening in courtrooms across the U.S. Survivors already carrying the weight of trauma are being forced to relive it all at the hands of their abusers. And all under the gavel's protection. One more turn of the knife, judges can allow it under the guise of due process. Because in the hierarchy of rights, the system seems more interested in preserving the accused than protecting the victim's dignity. This approach doesn't just re-traumatize survivors, it silences future ones. Because if this is what justice looks like, why would anyone chase it? Let me tell you a true story. A few years ago, I got popped with a half gram of cocaine. Barely enough to ruin a party, let alone my life, even though it was pretty ruined and messed up at that time is the reason why I had it. But that's besides the point. So, all in all, at the end of it, I ended up doing a total of 6 months in jail for that. Not probation, not diversion, jail. Now, on the same day I was booked in, another man sat beside me at first appearance. His charge? Molesting his own daughter. A daughter he had just been granted custody of. You want to know what he got? 15 days, time served, and 5 years probation. You tell me, what are we really punishing in this country? We say we care about victims. We say we protect children, but we hand harsher sentences out for drugs, for theft, for survival crimes than we do for rape and child molestation. And it's not just anecdotal. A nation study published in the Criminal Justice Policy Review found that sex offenders, especially those who commit non-stranger assaults, which means they know the victim, often receive lighter sentences than non-violent drug offenders. Some even avoid incarceration altogether. It's not that the system is broken, it's that it was built this way. Built to protect reputations over victims. Built to let power walk in pain, rot in silence. And if you've ever sat in a jail cell longer than a rapist, you start to understand justice in America isn't blind. She's just got selective vision. See, there's this quiet, toxic undercurrent that runs through every conversation about rape and sexual assault. It's the idea that maybe, just maybe, the victim asked for it. It's the myth that if she wore a short skirt, drank too much, flirted a little too hard, she must have been sending mixed signals. It's the lie that if there's no bruising, no broken bones, no screaming heard down the block, then maybe it wasn't really rape. But these myths, they don't come from truth. They come from fear, from the discomfort of admitting that someone we knew, someone we trust, someone we work with, maybe we could be capable of violence wrapped in silence. According to the Rape Myths Acceptance Scale, which is a thing, sadly, which is a tool developed to measure just how far these lies have crept into our collective psyche, there are several categories these myths fall into. For instance, she asked for it. Whether through dress, behavior, or flirting, people still buy into the idea that victims are somehow responsible for provoking their attacker. And the next one, it wasn't really rape. This myth suggests that rape only counts if it's violent, if the victim fights back physically, or if the assailant is a stranger in a dark alley. In reality, the majority of assaults are by someone the victim knows. And many victims freeze. That's still rape. Or the next one, he didn't mean to. The idea that men can't control themselves, that their arousal trumps a woman's consent, that it's just a miscommunication. It's an infantilization of men and a betrayal of women. Or how about this one? She lied. This one is especially cruel. False rape accusations are extremely rare, less than 10%. But it's the go-to narrative for discrediting victims. It's used to protect reputations and not the truth. Or how about rape is a deviant act by strangers? The myth that normal men don't rape, that it's only the monsters in the shadows, when in fact, it's often coworkers, boyfriends, classmates, pastors, friends, family, people who are socially acceptable until they aren't. See, these myths aren't just harmful, they're dangerous. They influence injuries. Oh, that's not right. They influence juries. They silence victims. And they embolden the predators. And they don't go away on their own. They get dismantled by calling them what they are: cowardice dressed as comfort. We have to stop telling survivors how to prevent assault and start telling rapists to just stop raping, period. When someone reports a sexual assault, they're not just reliving their trauma. They're handing it over to a system that doesn't always know what to do with it. And sometimes that system breaks them all over again. We've talked about officers who disbelieve, who violate, who ask, "Are you sure you didn't lead them on?" We've covered the rape kits violating in their own way cold instruments, scraping for evidence from a body that already feels stolen. We've talked about the defense attorneys who build their careers on destroying a survivor's credibility, even if it means calling a child a liar or a woman a whore. And we've looked at the brutal math of our justice system. A half a gram of coke can get you more time than molesting a child. But here's what really breaks me. What sticks in my throat every time I write about this or I talk about this is that in some states, a rapist can represent himself in court and cross-examine his own victim. Look her in the eyes, call her a liar, force her to relive the most devastating moment of her life, and call it due process. That's not justice. That's legalized psychological warfare. You want to know why survivors stay silent? That's why. Because when the system punishes you for being hurt and then calls itself your protector, what the hell are you supposed to believe in? But there's something powerful and truth-telling in dragging this rotting thing into the sunlight and saying, look at this. This is happening. Because silence helps the abuser. But truth is a sledgehammer. And it's time we started swinging. If you or someone you love has experienced sexual assault, please know you are not alone. There is help, there is healing, and there is hope. And I will be posting some links for anybody that needs them, for resources, independent organizations that help, truly help the survivor. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Uncovered. I am Kyle Fields. Remember, new episodes every Wednesday with uncomfortable truths, unflinching honesty, and a refusal to look away, no matter how hard it gets. Until next time, stay safe, stay human. Good night.
Uncovered is written and hosted by Kyle Fields. Scripted and perfected by Mary Rodriguez. Production and editing by One Love Media. All rights reserved. Please help the show by liking and subscribing, no matter what platform you listen on.